Hey, you guys.
Okay, we're here with Dave MUSTAINE and MEGADETH. And MEGADETH's been on tour for a while now, and we're just getting started on the States, pretty much, right?
Well, it depends on getting started. The duration of the whole tour is kind of a getting started thing, but actually we got into the States October 31st, so it's been a while that we've been here, but we plan to be here for quite a while, so in the long scheme of things, it's not that long.
You've traveled to a lot of cities around the world, and have you picked a city that's really become a favorite to play?
Yeah, Los Angeles. Where I live.
Hometown, right?
Yeah. No, you know, we a lot of the cities, it just changes, you know, the way that you go there, and every city's different, the government's different. That can really sway a person's feelings about a country or particular province or community. You know, if they were asked by the police or the local cops and stuff like that. You know.
Right.
Some places it can be really hellish. I mean, in order for us to get into Canada the first time, they strip searched all of us because they found some stuff in our bus that it wasn't a bus, it was a motorhome, and they thought that it was drugs, and it wasn't, and they ended up doing cab searches. So now we, you know, the whole band, you know, we've long since given up that whole mentality of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Now it's just going out and innovating. You know, the sex and the drugs part don't go hand in hand with everything.
Do you find audiences here in the States different than European audiences? Is there a different energy?
Well, the difference between the European audiences and the American audiences, the Americans tend to shower more often. You know, the people over in Europe, they're wonderful audiences, and they really get into music quite a lot. But when they come up and they want to take a picture with you, they have got a sleeve on their shirt, and you've got all this smegma coming out from under their arms, and you're going like, you're trying to smile at it, and there's a few places smiling, and some places it's really great, a lot of places it's really hard to deal with. It's just one of those occupational hazards that you have to deal with. As far as playing is concerned, the most outrageous audiences that we play to is the Japanese audience, because all you see is white skin and black hair. And they're used to sitting down and folding their hands in between songs. At the end of the song, they stand up and cheer and stuff like that. We were one of the first bands ever to get them to rush the stage. We're not allowed to do that. Now it's like normal. We were one of the first bands ever to do that. And I think that looking back in retrospect, they probably could have gotten us killed by the Yakuza over there because they run all the concerts and stuff. And the Japanese mafia, they're really weird. They sell bootleg and stuff outside, and if you try to stop them, they call them a bomb threat to the concert so that you can't play. So it's just there's so much mentality going on in politics and all that stuff.
So do you like to change your set list throughout the tour, or do you keep it pretty much the same, the way it played?
Well, we changed it a few times. We submitted a different song a few days ago, and we took one out, and the one we took out was one of the songs off the new album. The one that we exchanged it for was a song off the Peace House that was fine, and it was a flop. It's just people that were there are new blood in heavy metal, and they want to hear the new record that they're familiar with. A lot of the diehards want to hear the old stuff, and you know, it was like we're used to thousands of people cheering relentlessly, and then when we did a song that nobody really knows, and these new people that are getting into the music, they're kind of looking at us like, huh? You know, we played Devil's Island, and we switched it for This Is My Life.
So did the crowd actually boo, or were they just kind of silent?
Oh, I think they know better not to boo me, but it's just one of those things. We didn't really sit well. We tried to change things to improve it, and if it doesn't work, the band knows. If we go back in the dressing room, we kind of look at each other like one of us just clogged the toilet, you know? Right. So we end up changing it back to what works, and right now where we're at, it's really working smooth.
Right now, we're going to roll a video from MEGADETH. This is for Closure of a Dream, and you want to tell us a little bit about the meaning of the song?
Well, Dave Ellison wrote the song lyrically. I wrote the music to it, and it's a very bitter song for people who live in the heartland of America. For example, around here, Dave Ellison's from Minnesota, so you know, a lot of people can identify with the way that the government in the United States has affected people that really work for a living with their backs and in the soil here. And this is about lying to us and expecting us money, loans, and then taking it back before they were breaking out to do that. A lot of farmers who were lost, and a lot of farmers who were suicide. And it's a very painful song for Dave. We had to alter this a little bit more so that it would be a little bit more universal so other people could understand it. But for the most part, I mean, I get really choked up when I think about what happened to his spot because this is a true story about his dad.
Well, here's Foreclosure of the Dream from Megadeth.
Do that edit thing. You know, edit and tide, the same words backwards and forward, and you mean exactly the same thing. Change. Every time it changes.
Yeah, the public access shows don't know how to do it. Except us.
Ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Foreclosure of a Dream. We're back here once again with Big MUSTAINE. Now, also politically, that was a very political song, and you've been getting more and more involved in the past year especially. And what really motivated you to get involved?
I don't know if you were out there when we were sound checking, but
How's that here?
yeah, we were listening to a song that was so far so good for what called Liar. And I wrote that song because I was really bitter about one of our guitar players. And I looked at Dave Ellison after the song had stopped. You know, we were listening to it to Saturday Rain again because we got a lot of songs that we don't play them all the time, so they had to go. And I grabbed it with both my hands and I said, God, what a hateful song. You know, and I was shocked at some of the things that I said in that song. I think that what we've done now is we've kind of gotten past being the problem, getting over the solution, and with anybody's life, I think they can identify with a lot of our songs that they talk about. A lot of the things that are really hard to do is growing up, trying to get a job, the way you look, the way you think and act, what you say and do. And I think that Contact for Extinction is now the next all encompassing. There's a song that I mean, not necessarily everybody knows who Megadeth is. Unfortunately, we haven't had a message for that we would like to have. But it's taken us a while, and it's worth the blame much more. For example, I know the guys who weren't really well. They're friends of mine, and they're just completely bombastic right now. The fact that they had such enormous success, you know.
Right, the last two of them.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's just like what happened to Cinderella. What happened to Cinderella, and then a lot of these other bands just skyrocket to stardom, and then they follow it up, and they don't do as good. I mean, I had fear ever since my first demo came, trying to live up to my expectations of what I was doing with Metallica. And then I see these other four lads that, you know, have such enormous success, and I think a lot of that is that they're writing music for someone else, not for themselves.
Now, do you plan to get more politically involved as your career moves on? And as we go through like the administration that we're having with Bill Clinton, plan to get even more involved with anything?
I'll keep my eye on it. Make sure that young people are aware of any of the stuff that we do that's taking advantage of us, because a lot of young people look to me for answers, because one of the people in the music industry that really cares about the topic and sit down and explain stuff. And I'm one of the few people that explains politics and has the credibility to it. And I can put it into a real easy, something that is very easy to understood. You know, I can say like, this is how it is, and this is how it's going to be, and you can map it, and you can go, and it's going to happen without so whether you go for it or not. I think that, for me, I'm glad it only happened once every 4 years, because I had to go to the inauguration in order to complete my participation in that. It would be kind of like me not going to that. It was like hitting a home run and not touching home plate. You know, going for a second, third time off.
Like you were just standing in and posing until the end.
Yeah. So I had to do that in order to wrap it up for MTV and Rock the Boat and for our record company and for all the young people that choose to lose and all that stuff. Basically for myself and my family. But, you know, looking back, it was really good for my career. I think sometimes that it may not be the right thing to do to try to further my career, but I would rather than easily talk.
Yeah. I'm going back a ways. Who came up with the name Megadeth? Is that something you thought of? Or
That's a political name. I was coming home from New York after I left Metallica, and I was reading a handbill from Senator Alan Cranston, who was a California senator, and they said the arsenal of Megadeth can't be hid. And I said, wow, what a good song title, Megadeth. You know, so my first song that I wrote for Megadeth was a song called Set the World on Fire. And it ended up being stuck in the can for 3 albums because I was on the 3rd album. And that song was called Megadeth for me. And we had a hard time trying to find a band name that fit us because we wanted it to be a band name that signified that I must have this ultra furious band without, you know, having all the skullduggery and all the satanic images and stuff like that, you know. And I mean, we ended up having Vic, who was kind of, who was kind of a spokesperson for a lot of different things, you know. He's been to the Berlin Wall, he's done all those other kind of things. He's kind of like Iron Maiden's Eddie the Headbanger, you know. The Ramones that we had, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, it was I don't know. For us, you know, when we chose the name Megadeth, it was just very suiting for us. You know, and we got the name out of death so that it would go hand in hand with talent without being associated with dying, death metal. But so the way it's spelled is the way it's connected now.
Right now we're going to go to another Megadeth video, Symphony of Destruction. Do you have any comments on this video?
Lyrical stuff or song title.
That works. Here it is, Symphony of Destruction on CTV. Dave Mustaine, you know, show Dave.
Hey, well, bye.
Bye.
If you're not here tonight, too bad.